Good. Thank you, Ms. Moses. We appreciate that. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to share what we do with people of Sand Springs and other areas and stuff. And so, thank you, Tina, for doing what you do and putting us out there and making it work, because what we like to do, we like to share with other people. So with that, I will welcome everyone to the March 7th, 2022 Board of Education meeting for Sand Springs Schools. Thank you all for joining us. I would ask to I will call the meeting to order and ask for roll call, please.
Gunn, Noggle,
Here.
Wagner, here, Wagers, here, Holland.
Here. You please join me and stand with, and we start every meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. The next item is opportunity for the public to be heard, and we ask that you sign in. Prior to that, give you 5 minutes. Seeing there have been nobody signed in, we'll move to item number 4. This is one of my favorite things that we do. We give out awards to people, and the first award tonight, it's a Sandite Spirit Award. And I'm going to add this. We have wonderful families in Sand Springs. We have wonderful families within the school district. And one of the superstar families, I don't use that term as much as I should, but superstar families is the Bynum family. And we've had Linda Bynum, who was an institution at Sand Springs Schools. Her son, Michael Bynum, who still works for Sand Springs Schools, he was the Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year. But I think we've got the best one that we're going to get recognized tonight. Bob Bynum, please come and join me at the front. Bob, please. Thanks. And Michael, I'm going to ask you to come and join us too, because I think you are part of this presentation. And Ms. Durkee, please. Ms. Durkee, please join me. So, Bob Bynum worked for Sand Springs Schools for a number of years. Yeah. And I think he has since retired, but I still think he shows up regularly to help out and do whatever he can do. Like I say, the Bynum family they're an institution at Sand Springs Schools. Have been for a long time and will be for many, many years to come with Michael. So let me just read what this says. This came from not one person, but from the administrative team at Sand Springs Schools. It says, Bob is always showing his appreciation for the central office administrative staff. He comes with a big smile and a box of donuts on a regular basis. Bob worked for us as a skilled maintenance worker for over 9 years, even though he doesn't work here anymore. He has not forgotten his Sandite family. We appreciate the kindness he shows us every time he comes to the office. Michael, if you want to share something, I will let you share something about just wonderful human being.
Mom and I appreciate the board recognizing Dad. He not only did he work for the schools, but probably more importantly, he supported me and Mom as we both battled in the trenches. So we thank the board for the award.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dirk?
Yeah, so the first time Mr. Bynum came to our office, he was trying to make sure the paper had a story about central office admin, because he was convinced that we didn't get enough recognition. And so this man, y'all remember the day he came, he dragged us all out of the office and we had to pose for a picture. And we took a picture with Mr. Bynum and it went to the paper. I don't know that it ever made the paper, but he came back and had a copy for every single one of us to put in our office, and has since brought pretty much every Friday a box of donuts. So appreciated, but it's that caring soul of people that just take the time to do the extra, which makes it so special. So today I have to tell a story on him. He comes to my office and he said, Ms. Durkee, Mike won't tell me anything. And apparently he's going to be recognized tonight. What's it for? And I said, I don't know. He didn't tell me either. I don't know. So we tricked him into coming. So I'm pretty sure he would not have come to receive an award by the board. But can you guys just give this?
This is the Sandite Spirit Award. This certificate is awarded to Robert Bynum for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. It says think beyond. So we do appreciate what you do. So we do appreciate that for you, sir. Thank you for what you've done.
Linda, you want to come up and get in the
Okay,
picture?
come on, Ms. Bynum, please. Ms. Bynum was a regular in our school board meetings when she was a teacher. And,
100 years.
Not quite that.
a wonderful family, a very wonderful family right here. So.
We're so short.
What?
42.
42 years.
42, amazing.
All right, over here, 1, 2, 3, and one more for fun. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you all for allowing us to do that. The next one is the Sandite Pace Setter Award. Jackie, please.
And our first Sandite Pay Center Award recipient tonight is Stephanie McKinney. She was nominated by Ms. Douglas, and she is a special education paraprofessional at CEC. She just jumps in and does what is necessary with, loving kindness, caring heart. Now, let's let Ms. Douglas tell a little bit about.
Yes. Well, Stephanie just recently moved here, and we were so excited when we hired her on, and we had no doubt that she was going to be an asset to our team at ECEC, and she exceeded our expectations by a lot. This is her first year, so when you first get a job, you're going to perform really well. Well, that hasn't worn off, so we're pretty sure that it's going to stay. And no matter what we need her to do, she does. She usually does it without asking. We've been understaffed, just like everybody else, so she'll step in and sub when she needs to. So it has just been an honor for her to be at our building, and we hope that she never leaves.
And this certificate is awarded to Stephanie McKinney for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public School and the community at large. Thank you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, another Pace Setter Award we have for Jeremy Moran and also Doug Dalton, but I understand Doug is not here, but if Jeremy could join me. We're nominated by Jennifer Cummings, the leader of our transportation team. We have a dream team here in Sand Springs, and it's our educators, it's also child nutrition, and it's also our transportation people, because they are all absolute heroes. Flexibility is the big key word here, and everybody loves somebody who's flexible, regardless of whether it's friends, family, or somebody that you work with. And so this is what you're being nominated for, is flexibility. I understand you're a mechanic, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand that you have been asked to also drive some buses and drive some bus routes.
Being part of bus driver.
Oh, as a board member, but also as a parent, I cannot thank you enough for that. So if Ms. Cummings, you would like to.
Absolutely. When I came on in the beginning of the school year, I said, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys from driving, because obviously they're the glue that keeps everything together for our vehicles and for the district. But I have not been able to keep my promise. They have almost every day had to drive a bus and a bus route that they may not be very familiar with. And they hop on that bus route and they fill in those gaps. And so there's a lot of districts that don't have mechanics who do that. And I felt bad that I wasn't able to fulfill my promise, but flexibility is exactly what she said, because it's so important to have that person to jump in and do what you need. And so they are expert mechanics, but they are also very good at just keeping us together as a department. So I can't say enough how much I appreciate that. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that Doug and Jeremy were recognized.
He'll also come and pump gas for me on a cold day. And say hello. There's nothing better than a smile to greet you at any department that you're in and make a little small talk. And so just that positive attitude that was leads out of Jeremy's pores. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. For outstanding achievements and accomplishments and representing Sand Springs Public Schools in the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I just certainly thank you for doing it together. And this is that awkward time that I appreciate the support that people come when I see the large group that come to support your fellow people. And that's so cool. That's what Sand Springs is all about. And so that's so special. But at awkward time, if you want to leave, now's a good time to leave. But we're going to get into the business of the district. And you are more than welcome to stay and see what we do monthly. Or if you want to leave now, okay.
There they go.
Thank you all. Very nice. Very nice. The next item on our agenda is item number 6. Ms. Murphy, would you please lead us through the student empowerment, staff empowerment?
So I'm going to go through a few bullet points publicly, but then I'm going to turn it over to Sean Beard. He's going to go through what I consider to be a more important testimony of student progress, and that's our benchmarks that we deliver every year. As you know, we're right in the middle of parent-teacher conferences, and if you drove by the high school, you saw a pretty lively crowd there tonight. It's happening at every site in the district, so it's tonight and tomorrow night. Graduation is set for May 7th. We will be back to the Mabee Center. Thank goodness. I'm pretty excited about getting back to traditional routine. Summer programs are being planned right now, some of which are supported by our federal stimulus dollars. We're going to be doing, of course, the 21st Century Grant Program in June, as well as our RSA Summer Reading Academy. And then we have narrowed our July offering to really a math academy. And I know Sean will explain that as he speaks here in just a moment with our benchmarking. And then big exciting news, we're going to be posting a position. In fact, I think we may have already sent it out internally for an esports coach. And I believe Mr. Beard had responses during enrollment of how many students that are interested in the esports class.
We had expression of interest of over 1,000 kids. So, which is,
The team won't have 1,000 kids on.
Oh,
Okay.
we will have a bracket where we will hold tryouts and we will reduce that number a little.
So you will eventually see an esports coach on our stipend list. We're hoping for an internal candidate that wants to step up and do that job. So it's just around the corner with tryouts and all those things. So come on in, Mr. Morning. Sneaking back in. You can't get rid of him. So I think we're going to transition now. I know Sean's got a presentation that was shared with you. And if you have questions, I want him to take you through it and talk about what we do with benchmarking across the district 3 times a year, actually.
So if you'll take a look at the screen, what is I've prepared just a little slideshow. It's actually a little bit more than a little slideshow, but the data that you're about to see is a breakdown of the benchmarks that we provide for elementary and secondary students 3 times a year. We've already administered a fall benchmark and then a winter benchmark after the winter break. And then coming up very soon, we'll be administering a spring benchmark in math and language arts. And so I'm just going to give you a breakdown of grade by grade where we are and some of the trends that we're seeing. The data that you're seeing here, first of all, this is kindergarten. And this is a breakdown of student performance in early literacy. And on each of these for elementary, you're going to see 2 pyramids. The left one is the fall and the middle one is the winter. The right one is coming.
Certified fall, the date for the fall benchmark is
Oh, my goodness.
Very beginning of the year is
It
my
is at the very
point. So we say fall, but really it's the end of the summer. So when they come to school, right at the get-go, we assess their skill sets coming off the summer.
Right, and the winter benchmark is administered right after winter break, and then, so what you're seeing here, the green band are our top performers in that area, tier one. The yellow is our tier two, and then the red is our tier three group. And we use this information so that we can better target which students may need intervention, more than others. And of course, one of the things that we expect to see, which we're kind of seeing here, is that from fall to winter, you're going to see more kids in the green band and fewer kids in the yellow and red band. And so with kindergarten, these are our early learners. So we're a little bit all across the board. And then as you move into first grade, you see a drastic jump for our kids that were tier one and tier two. And so we're expecting to see great gains from them as well in the spring. This is grade two. Again, you're seeing a jump in performance. And then grade three. And grade three, by that point, things have changed for these kids and they've got a little bit broader skill set. So you're going to see a lot more kids performing at tier one, but we're still seeing those gains that we want to see. And then this is fourth grade. And then fifth grade. As we jump in, and this is from Ames Web Plus, but as we jump into secondary, grades 6 through 12, we use a different tool for measurement. We use a tool called Exact Path. And so it breaks everybody down into quartiles. And as you can see here, ELA or English Language Arts for secondary is broken down into reading and language arts. And so as you can see with each of these bands, the darker band on the right of each of those graphs are the upper 25%, and then the lighter band on the left is the lower 25%. And so as we go from fall to winter in each of these categories, you'll see the top 50% go up and the bottom 50% go down in numbers for the most part. So this is our sixth grade reading scores, and then seventh grade, and then eighth grade. And the reason that you see some of these graphs that look smaller like that, it's because we may have tested some students in the summer testing session, so it caused the graphs to look a little bit weird. So I apologize for that, the oddness of the graph. But this is ninth grade, and then moving into high school, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And then going from there, we also assess math and same graphs. So going back to kindergarten, this just shows a breakdown of our math performance. This is early numeracy in kindergarten. And then first grade, second grade, and third grade. In fourth grade. I feel like I'm turning letters on the wheel of fortune right now.
You don't look like Van.
I know. Not this morning. I didn't. And then fifth grade. And then again, as we make the transition to sixth grade, looking back at our exact path scores, graphs change a little bit. And so we start to see some changes. Fall to winter again, seventh grade, eighth grade, and then ninth grade. And we saw a pretty big jump in math performance with ninth grade. 10th grade, 11th grade, and then finally 12th grade. So again, the purpose of these, along with common formative assessments that we give on a more regular basis, we use this data to decide which students may need more attention, either from a tier 2 standpoint, or if they need to be pulled out of class for closer intervention at the tier 1, at the tier 3 level. And then again, we will assess again when we get to late spring after spring break, but just before we go into the OSTD, or actually after we do the state testing, to see what kind of gains our students have made from winter to spring.
I would say what you're looking at are grade level bands. You're seeing the whole grade level of the district. It's not broken up by site. What is I think important to know about the benchmark assessments that we do in comparison to like spring assessments. Those are prescriptive. So much like you're seeing a band of all students, you also get that comparison by child. So when you look at those pyramids and you see that red tip at the top, we know inside that red area, we know exactly who those kids are that we're delivering tier 3 intervention to. And I think that helps us in a huge way deliver the work that we need to do, and drives why we have math camp this summer versus carrying through reading all summer long. So it allows us to make some good, healthy decisions, I think, about how we need to move forward to make sure they're getting what they need.
And additionally, the other thing that you're getting out of these graphs is that when we pull this kind of data, there's actually a lot more data than what you're seeing. This is a battery of scores that are averaged for literacy and for math, but it covers a broad skill set. So you have a lot that's going on. So some students have some strengths in some areas while others do not. But again, we do spend a lot of our time, and this is kind of a good segue. We do spend a lot of our time providing intervention for ELA. And so likewise, we wanted to spend some of our ESSER funds to focus on math. So making the segue to summer programs, last year in our July summer program, we offered an English language arts and math and STEM full day camp for 3 weeks. This year, we're going to try to focus more on math performance and helping our kids with their basic math skills, but also algebraic reasoning when we get into middle school. But also we want to provide students with some activities that help them to grow and have a greater interest in math. And hopefully by having a greater interest in math and a love for math, then they'll perform better academically. So, and we're also reducing that. Spending all day in camp last summer doing ELA and math and STEM is quite a bit. To do that all day with math is a lot. So we're reducing it to a half day for 4 weeks. So that's something that's going to be based on referral from teachers. And we're hoping to send that information out after spring.
So we struggled, honestly, getting enough teachers to take up their summer to provide those services because they want a break as well. And so what we discovered is when we shifted to math and made it more concentrated, then our teachers were more willing. So I think that we're going to get some pretty good applicants.
We have some pretty good applicants now. We still need some more. So if you're watching, please apply. But we did have a better response this year. So
Any questions for Mr. Beer?
Get applicants from outside of the district to teach as well?
I'm sorry.
Do you have students that ever want to help?
we have and we do use student interns for our programs. So yes. So we look to provide positions for our juniors and seniors that are student interns, and we also look a lot towards our colleges to provide teachers that are just coming out of their programs and going into teaching profession as well.
Sand Springs Public School students.
That's
That should be a Sand Springs student.
Right.
for
We
the-
had to make that clarification last year.
He was in there. No, it was in there, but we had somebody that applied from a vertical school. So,
Mhm.
but it is in there. They have to be a Sand Springs student.
I like that report. Pretty easy to follow when you explained it.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Durkee or Mr. Beard? See, then we'll move on to number 7.
I always include the Vernon Florence newsletter so you can see his predictions. I think it gives us a good idea of state revenue and what may be forecasted to come. I'm not gonna even venture to say confidently that it hasn't been a little tricky to navigate the volatility of markets. Inflation's a real thing. But I mean, we're fiscally stable, as you all know. You've been following our fund balance for a long time, and you know that we continue to be stable, but it's just something that, at least in the back of my mind, and I know Mr. Watson now, Christie's coming on board, hopefully after tonight's meeting. Something that we have to be aware of. Understanding the volatility of what state revenue can be. We seem to be in a good place in terms of putting back some money in rainy day fund and all of those things, but at the same time, knowing that student enrollment has had a tremendous effect on state aid for districts. And so we're starting to trend up, which is a good sign, but still, again, we always proceed with caution moving forward. So just something to know that we're always keeping our eye on for sure. Big successful grant. I say big because it's for our ELC program, which is great. Kristen Arnold applied for a grant through DHS, and we are set to receive $5,000 for that program, which is a coup for us. I believe this year we'll be in this place where we're breaking even with that program, and I am loving the fact that we can provide that service for our teachers and can continue to do so. There's a few building proposals you'll see on the agenda for tonight, and we've just been moving along. As we know, we have this one-time money that we can use for one-time purchases. Of course, we're doing a lot with student learning and recuperation from COVID, but we're also have been able to institute some big changes in HVAC, which has been great. Camera installation is going to start very soon. Energy management is well underway. And then there's 3 additional projects for tonight's meeting as well. One of them is phase 3 of the 3-story building on the corner of 4th and Main. I want to make sure I'm clear about a portion of that remodel we're hoping to pay for with our ARP stimulus money, which is that 3rd package of stimulus. And we're matching that basically with some of our building fund. That the goal is to unify central administrative services to be a very user-friendly place for our community and our own staff. We've done a good job with our enrollment center. That's been a really great space for parents coming in new to the district. I know Carrie were here tonight. She would tell you about the number of transfers we have coming in already, not just for this school year, but also for the 22-23 school year. And it's just nice to have a one-stop shop in a very accessible place, center to where we're located, and it looks nice. So that's been very valuable, and we're hoping for that approval tonight from you all. I did add a component. Claudia Smith, as you know, is our federal programs director. She has been phenomenal. She's sitting in the back hiding, but she's amazing. Every time we use our stimulus dollars to fund any kind of project that involves buildings, we get pre-approval from the State Department of Ed. So before we start any work on that 3-story building, we'll make sure that we have SDE approval, which happens pretty quickly usually. So again, just a reminder, the city has agreed to partner with us for their GO bond to provide some dollars for what will be the grand finale of that campus, and that's the new entrance on the south side of the building in a few years down the road. Second request would be approval, that's item number 31, for improvements for our PE gym at Charles Page High School. Pending in that time crunch that we're going to be in and remodeling the campus of central admin, we know we're going to have to make sure that the varsity basketball team is accommodated. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is making sure the PE gym facility at the high school that's on the opposite side of the wrestling room is upgraded to a standard that would accommodate varsity basketball. So we're going to be asking you to approve a bid to remodel the floor, to add some sound panels, some gym equipment, additional goals in that space, to the tune of about $500,000, I believe, with the bid package. Lastly,
Watertight, just curious.
yes, it is.
Probably years ago, but it's pretty sound, so.
It is sound.
Put on a silicone roof several years ago and seems to be doing really well.
I'm going to ask Jeannie to talk about the Angus cooling tower. And I have to say, Mr. Mullins, thank you for doing the grand tour of the roof area of Angus earlier in the fall. It will, once the campus in central office is done, this will be the only campus remaining with a boiler system, and there's a need to do some repairs. So Jeannie, I don't know if you want to kind of talk through what that entails.
On the boiler. AEG, Gail Gwinnett was our engineer on that. So he put out specifications, more descriptive type of specifications. We had a pre-bid meeting. He actually called 3 manufacturers to make sure that their equipment was available in a timely manner, and that we could get parts for any repairs. So once he narrowed it down to 3 pieces of equipment, that's what he bid. Then we bid the pumps out as alternate. And the valve we have now that is manual, that turns it from summer to winter. If you recall, a few years ago, we didn't get that switched over and we froze the cooling tower. So our service provider, Ron Hale, asked that we would have an automatic actuator there that IT could call up when Mike says, we're gonna have freezing weather, make sure that that's adjusted. And so that's what we bid out. We had about 5 bidders come to the pre-bid meeting. And then we had 2 bids for the bid, and one was a little bit lower than the other. I also was requested by Claudia on all of these bids to send out notification that they had to comply with the Bacon Davis, is it?
It is bacon.
Yeah. And so I sent that notification out, as well as the wage category there, so they could see what they had to pay. And then we had 2 bidders, but I don't know if it was because of that or they just got busy, but we were happy with the bids we got, and we accepted Shoemaker as the low bid.
And the manufacturer of the cooling tower, did he tell us?
I don't remember who he said he chose, but it's one that he was readily available. I think it might have been Aon. Do they do cooling towers? Their name came up, but we were discussing some other heat pumps at Angus that Mike is going to be replacing in his bid that next month. So I'm not sure what brand he chose, but it's one of the 3 the engineers specified.
Having Gail involved in it, that helped.
Yes.
You said that. Good, thank you.
So those 3 items are on the board agenda in action tonight. We are asking for minor revisions to 2 policies as well. We discussed this, I believe, a little bit in the last meeting, but it's regarding surplus goods. We're interested, this is our first senior class that will have had a Chromebook checked out to them the entire 4 years they've been in high school. And we just want to give them opportunity to buy those as they graduate from high school. So that would be a reason for manipulation of the surplus plus policy. And then the second one, if you'll recall back in November, we revised our competitive bidding policy to allow us to competitively bid up to 100,000 versus 50. So the policy for the 3 bids per our own policy raises that minimum from 1,000 to 3,000. It's just a long time coming. We've seen some inflation. We feel like that's a good move forward so that we're not held to 3 bids for $1,000. So that would be the second one we're asking for, just to go ahead and pass on the first read tonight. I think that is it. We are begin discussing projects for the next bond election. Just know that we're going to be really focused in on Clyde Boyd Middle School. We have I walked through that space with Dylan Coley last week. There's some things that we've got to address. Bathrooms is one, tile on the floor is another, gym bleachers is another. I mean, there's a laundry list. And so just know that we're going to be spending some pretty concentrated time at Clyde Boyd developing some projects that need to be on the next bond ask for the public. So just wanted you to be aware of that. I think that's it, unless you guys have questions.
From Ms. Murphy.
I had a question about the Chromebooks for the seniors. Is there a minimum rate that they're all going to be offered, or does each student have to?
There's 2 schools of thought on this, and our neighbors are split in terms of what other districts do. So really the 2 plans are a flat rate, like a minimal fee, $5, $10, something that's manageable regardless of fiscal situation, because that's the whole reason we're doing this. Is a device in their post-secondary pursuits has been a barrier for some of our students because of the fiscal situation that they're coming from. And we want to try to remove that barrier. And those devices are end of life about a year after they would leave us anyway. So, which means I can't manage them on a large scale, but they're still usable as an individual device. So a flat fee that's nominal is one option. The other, and this would put a much larger burden on my team, so that's definitely a consideration I'm making, is to go back and see which seniors have paid into the insurance program each year. And then if they've paid in all 4 years, just take it. But the paperwork side of that is a lot messier. But I don't know that we've landed on anything yet, because my other hang up is I don't want to charge parents for an account that doesn't need that money, because that gets into that whole free public ed thing, which feels weird. And I don't like taking people's money if I don't have to anyway. So it'll be one of those two, but I don't believe we've landed on a solid.
So as you know, we put it on an auction website, anything that we surplus, and this is going to enable us not to do that. And again, the goal is not to make money, it's to allow them to take them. We couldn't reissue those the next year anyway. It wouldn't behoove us to do that, because that team would be spending so much time just keeping them going that it doesn't make sense. And the likelihood of honestly being able to sell those devices on a public auction is pretty minimal anyway. And then it just becomes the right thing to do for our kids too. So we have a little bit to work out, but changing this policy will allow us to do that without putting them on a public surplus auction site.
And that's for the kids that have been 4 years.
Well, really, any senior that's got a device that's been checked out, those are on, well, they may not be quite on 4-year cycles, but for the most part, they're on a 4-year lending.
Every
cycle.
new class of freshmen gets a brand new device when they walk in the doors of Charles Page High School to start their freshman year. So this class of seniors is the first group that was applied to. So they've had their device for 4 years, unless they were a later enrollment or they had creative uses for their Chromebook that resulted in it not being viable anymore. We had to replace it. So there is a few of those instances mixed in as well, but for the most part, it's the 100E they were issued as a freshman.
I love how she frames things.
Yeah.
Diplomatic. Right. So there could be an exception to that 4-year-old device rule, but for the most part, that's the idea.
Any other questions for Ms. Turkey? Move on to item number 8, talk about empowering families and communities.
So transfer capacity is an item on the consent agenda. Remember, we're going to have to be considering that every quarter, if not more frequently. Our capacity numbers, just so you know, have not changed since we first adopted those in December. So that's where we're at. As a transfer is accepted and comes in, our ladies in the enrollment center are immediately changing that data so that our form online on our website is accurate in real time. So people can see by site and grade level how many slots are available in that. So you'll see that as a consent agenda item. Again, parent-teacher conferences are going on right now. And then just want to make mention of Career Day at Charles Page High School. We just had an evening activity that allowed parents to come in and see all the programs available to our students. So this one is really a reach for our business community in our district to come in and display what they have to offer. I believe Mr. Mullins is going to participate in that one as well. But basically, it's set up into 4 30-minute sessions, and kids will have an opportunity to pick 4 careers of interest that they might have, and then they can go and listen to see what that particular occupation has to offer. So pretty excited about the work that they're doing. I will say this, Daryl Glover is one of my colleagues at COSA, and I got a text message from him a couple of nights ago, and he said, just want to give you props on your school. This was a parent of a former basketball player of mine. So she's a mom now, obviously, at Charles Page, and she's given us all kinds of props for what a concept. We get to go in advance and see what they have to offer. So it was a huge hit. And I can't tell you, I could just brag forever. I'll stop there, but it's pretty amazing what we're doing in Sand Springs. So any questions on empowerment of families and communities?
And then we'll move to health and safety issues.
So safety meetings were actually Thursday. Notice that we split those 2 agendas just so you can see the differentiation, because they really are truly a focus on either health or safety. Wanted to make a note of the fact that mental health was on the safety agenda. And I think that it's something that deserves a little bit of public conversation, honestly. I know you guys have been reading about and probably understand that the direct hit that COVID had on families and children and adults too, but we're in the children business, has been real. And so we're just seeing more of it. We have a counselor for Daybreak. His name is Clint Treese. He's been at Garfield for the past 10 years, but he's now the point person for David. I think David's trying to step back just a little bit. But Clint's our guy, which I love. He came to a leadership meeting this week and just, this approach of, is there more we can do? And so we're talking through the possibility of additional support at Clyde Boyd Middle School, specifically the 6th grade center, to try to help kids that are coming that are having some real mental issues that we need to address. So, school doesn't really just end with the 3 R's. We go in deeper and really help children learn how to cope with stressors that I didn't have when I was a kid. I can promise you, and coming out of COVID, it has just escalated. So pretty good conversations we're having with our team for sure. Any questions about those two?
We will move to the consent agenda.
Couple things that you need to be aware of on the consent agenda that maybe aren't ordinary. Well, this one, number 19 is ordinary. What's not ordinary about number 19 is the amount of donors choose requests that you see granted. And I contribute that, number one, to our teachers doing a lot of extra work to make sure they're getting those grants in, but then also the SDE partnering with Donors Choose to match those grants. So I love seeing the grants that are the applications, but I also love the fact that there's a lot of creativity inside those grants. So I thought that was something to bring to your attention. Number 25 is additional budget item. It's to approve an amended co-op fund. It's Fund 12 in the budget. And the reason for that is we had additional allocated money from the State Department for Alt Ed this year. And so in order to spend that, we have to get your approval to allocate it. And so that's what Mr. Walsh is asking for you to approve. And then 27, I just bring to your attention the capacity report on number 27.
Questions on the consent agenda item?
This is kind of a general question on the financial, with the volatility of energy prices right now. Do we go back and reevaluate the what if situations for the rising costs of fuels, whether it's transportation or heating or whatever it may be? I don't know, or is it even significant? I mean,
I think we always kind of have that in the back of our minds. I will say that we have two options to pay for, like utilities, for instance. And if you'll remember back in February of last year when the freeze happened, we saw a significant increase, not as much as St. Francis did and some of our other colleagues in other schools, but we did see a pretty big increase in price. I think it goes back to having that element of planning for the ability to pay for additional utilities that might become necessary. We have some funding options. We obviously have it encumbered, but you also can pay that out of building fund. And I don't know if Gary would add to that, but
one of the surprises that I had coming back after 5 years is that the utility budget seems actually smaller than it was before. So I think the district's conservation efforts have paid off.
that could have been the LED portion as well. But we know that that could be a significant.
And I've not heard from Ms. Cummings. It's probably a good heads up. We probably ought to have that conversation about our diesel costs.
Yeah, thank you for that comment.
Any other questions or concerns on any particular item? Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed.
I'll make the motion.
Motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Any other discussion? Call for vote, please.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullen.
Aye. Item number 28, a proposed executive session to discuss the employment of two individuals, and I would entertain a motion to move to executive session. I will make that as a motion. Do a second?
Second.
A motion, a second. Call for vote, please.
Malcolm, Wagers. Aye. Wagner.
Aye.
Mullins.
Be very short.
Yeah.
We will adjourn from executive session shortly and then we'll be right back.
What about?
Thank you all for,
Lori was so compelling.
thank you all for allowing us to go to executive session.
Talk about people.
Then take that executive session that we had discussion about the employment of personnel and those votes were taken or other items discussed. We'll now move on to item number 29, which is proposed employment of two personnel. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for proposed employment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for vote, please.
Nalgo,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins,
Aye. Congratulations. Welcome. We're excited to have you and we wish you Mr. Watson for the ground, help out and all that kind of stuff. But my understanding is you won't need much help. We're excited that you're going to be staying night.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we are a family organization. That's very good. Thank you for joining.
Showed her her lovely office tonight. No, it's gonna be better though. Like she's gonna be through that one.
I was just saying she knows the word.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm teasing. It's all good.
Cool. Item number 30. Vote acceptance of bids for the lowest, the Shoemaker Mechanical for Angus cooling tower repair.
Right. Which is what Ms. Kavach described.
Maybe by a cooling tower at the school board meeting, so. I appreciate your telling us the story on that, Gene. That helped out tremendously. So
When do you?
I I entertain a motion to approve the bid to Shoemaker for $166,980.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Nalgo,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins,
Aye, number 31. Proposed acceptance of bids and awarded contracts to the lowest bidders for a lot of stuff at Charles Page High School PE gym. And there's 4 different companies. I guess we can do this as one. Would that be okay, Mr. Watts?
Yeah.
We put them all together as
Yes,
one,
all.
so
Item.
I would entertain a motion to approve the items as listed A through D at item number 31.
I'll make a motion, we approve item 31 with A, B, C, and D as stated.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Call for vote, please.
Nalgo,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins,
Aye. Item number 32, proposed acceptance of bids to the lowest bidder to the Watts Company for phase 3 remodel of the 3rd story east wing of Central Administration Building with a bid of $1,939,015.
No relation to Gary, correct?
No relation to Gary.
Okay. You're already told her that story. Jeannie's fault.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we accept item 32 as stated.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? I'm excited about this one.
Me
I
too.
really am.
I'm
It's gonna be
really excited
cool addition to our facility. So, seeing none, I'll call for a vote, please.
Nalgo,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins,
Aye. Item number 33, a proposed approval of 2 particular policies. We can take these together as one motion. Ms. Durkee explained really both of them to us earlier today, so.
I make a motion to approve policy revisions on item number 33.
Okay, Jackie.
Second.
We'll include you.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Nalgo,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Aye. Item number 34,
That would be the approval, hopefully, for the proposed calendar for the 22-23 school year. As written in first read last month.
it's the same as it was last month, so I entertain a motion to approve it.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Let me just say, appreciate the input from the teachers and the community. And yes, the desire would have been to do it a little bit different, but the diligence of our organization saying, we can't start any earlier than what we can because of the funding sources.
Would have been responsible for us to have.
Very much so. So thank you for that. Thank you for the understanding of the teachers as well. So.
And we do have snow days built in, right?
Do, absolutely.
It finally doesn't affect me at all.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Did volunteer.
Call for the vote, please.
Noggle,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins.
Aye. Being item number 35, any matters that could not be thought of beforehand? Seeing none, any announcements?
Yeah, and I probably should have said this, in the upcoming events, but the girls play at 8:30
Thursday night.
tonight, and I'm hearing that if they win, it's gonna be a midday game on Friday,
Right. And on
right? Because
It's good on Saturday.
They gonna be on YouTube or any type of,
I haven't heard yet, but I'll send that to you all if that's the case.
okay.
Any other announcements? The Mr. Gunn's not here. Who wants to make?
I'll make a motion.
We-
Make a motion, adjourn.
I'll second.
Vote, please.
Noggle,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Mullins.
All right. Thank you all very much.
You know what I missed?